You've been living a story you didn't write, but believe completely. You call it you, but what if the self you cling to, your name, your thoughts, your memories, is an illusion? Not a lie, but a mask, something convenient, something built for survival, not truth. You learned it slowly, from how people reacted to you, from what got you praised or punished, from repetition so constant it became invisible. But just because something feels real doesn't mean it is. Neuroscience, ancient wisdom, and modern psychology all whisper the same thing. You are not who you think you are. And that realization, it's not scary. It's the beginning of real freedom. From the moment you were born, your mind started collecting data. Sound, color, voices, labels, and slowly a sense of me began to form. At first, it was innocent. I like this. I don't like that. Then it got more detailed. I'm shy. I'm smart. I'm worthless. I'm better. But here's the catch. None of those thoughts were originally yours. They were handed to you by parents, by teachers, by culture, by repetition. You absorbed them without knowing, like a sponge in water. You didn't choose your personality. It was shaped by the reactions of others. Every compliment carved a path. Every insult etched a scar. And slowly, your reflection became a prison. You stopped being curious about who you are and started defending who you were told to be. You became a character in a play you didn't script. Your name? Chosen for you. Your nationality, gender, beliefs? Assigned. Even your voice, shaped by your environment. So who are you beneath the costume? You think you're one person, but look closely and you'll see fragments. The version of you that shows up in public isn't the same one that spirals alone at 2 a.m. Your self shifts depending on who's in the room, what mood you're in, what story you're believing. But we cling to the illusion of a constant identity because it gives us control, a sense of direction, a stable me to protect. Modern neuroscience shows us that the self is a construct, a mental model your brain creates to navigate the world. Useful? Absolutely. But real? Not in the way you think. There's no self-center in the brain, no control room where the real you sits making decisions. Just a stream of patterns, reactions, and impulses woven into a story you've rehearsed so long you forgot it was fiction. Dr. Bruce Hood calls it the self-illusion. He says, you are not the person you were 10 years ago. You are not the person you will be in 10 years. You are a process, not a thing. Think about it. You act differently with friends than with strangers. You shift your tone with your boss, your partner, your family. Which one is the real you? What about when you're angry and say things you regret? Or when you're completely alone, no one watching, no performance required? Do you still feel like yourself? Or do you become something else entirely? Your identity is like water in a container, shaped by the moment, molded by expectation. And yet, we cling to the idea that there's a constant me underneath it all. Something fixed, unchanging, solid. But that's a comforting illusion. Because if the self is fluid, then who are you really? If you're not the voice in your head, and you're not the image you present, then what's left? People say be yourself, but they never ask which self. The one from yesterday? The one that collapses under pressure? The one shaped by trauma? Or the one still healing from it? Our identities aren't built, they're assembled, piece by piece, memory by memory, comment by comment, like digital code constantly updating, but never paused long enough to be examined. And here's the paradox. We spend our lives defending this illusion, arguing, fighting, obsessing over what others think of me. But if you look closely, there's nothing there to protect, just a story. A story that changes depending on who's telling it, or how you feel when you wake up. Buddhist philosophy calls this Anatta, no self. It doesn't mean you don't exist. It means the thing you think you are is more like a mask, a useful one, a sometimes beautiful one, but still just a mask. And once you notice the mask, you can take it off. Not permanently, not with force, but with awareness. You simply stop mistaking the mask for your face. And that's where it begins. Not the end of identity, but the start of a deeper presence. One that watches all the versions of you come and go like waves on a shore. So if you are not your name, not your beliefs, not even your thoughts, then what are you? You are the one who notices the name, the one who watches the thoughts. You are the silent witness, always there, yet rarely seen. You've been so busy playing a role that you forgot the stage beneath your feet. There is a part of you that never changes, that was there before the roles, before the opinions, before the masks. And it's not interested in being liked. It doesn't care about success, failure, or comparison. That part of you is pure awareness, not something dramatic or mystical, just the quiet observer, the stillness behind the noise. When thoughts rise, it notices. When emotion floods in, it feels it, but does not drown. It doesn't resist. It doesn't cling. It simply sees. This awareness is what's present when you're truly here. Not lost in thought, not chasing approval, not rehearsing the past or fearing the future. Just here. And here's the thing most people never realize. You don't have awareness. You are awareness. Everything else is temporary. But this is constant. This is what ancient teachers pointed to. This is what meditation trains you to feel. Not to stop thinking, but to stop being pulled by every thought. Because the moment you believe a thought, you lose yourself in it. I'm not enough. I need to be more. I am better than them. These are just clouds, and you are the sky. Even modern science backs this up. Studies show that when people learn to observe their thoughts, rather than identify with them, their anxiety drops, their clarity rises, and their behavior changes. Not from discipline, but from alignment. When you realize that you are not the story, you stop fighting the story. You don't have to fix the character. You don't have to rewrite the past. You just have to step back and remember who's watching. And from that space, everything shifts. You become more present, more grounded, less reactive. Not because you tried harder, but because you're no longer trapped in the illusion. You are no longer the actor. You are the awareness of the entire play. And once you see that clearly, you can finally relax. Let the story unfold. Let the thoughts come and go. Let life happen without losing yourself in it. Because behind all the noise, you were always there. Quiet, whole, watching. What happens when you stop clinging to who you think you are? At first, it's disorienting, like losing your reflection in a mirror you stared into your whole life. But soon, something else emerges. a lightness, a space, a strange kind of peace, not because everything is solved, but because you've stopped needing to be someone. When you drop the constant effort to maintain the mask, you begin to breathe differently. You start responding instead of reacting. You listen without defending. You feel without labeling. And slowly, you stop living through an identity and start living through presence. This doesn't mean you lose your personality. It means you stop being imprisoned by it. You still have preferences, memories, dreams, but they become tools, not cages. You laugh more, not because life gets easier, but because you're no longer so tightly racked in the fear of being misunderstood. You stop performing and start experiencing. Letting go isn't about becoming passive. It's about becoming clear enough to move through the world without dragging an imaginary self behind you. Because that's what most people are doing, dragging every version of themselves. The achiever, the victim, the overthinker, the tough one, the broken one, like a bag of ghosts they can't put down. But you can drop it all, not because you've figured it out, but because you realize there's nothing left to carry. You're not the story. You're the space it plays in. You're not the character. You're the awareness watching it all unfold. And in that realization, a door opens. You begin to see others differently. You recognize their masks, their fear, their striving, and instead of judging them, you understand them. Because you've seen through your own illusion, and now you can see through theirs too. This is where real compassion is born. Not from trying to be a good person, but from realizing that we're all acting from the same confusion, the same forgotten truth. Letting go is not giving up. It's waking up. It's stepping out of the dream you didn't know you were in. It's no longer being at war with what is. And from that place, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to chase something to feel whole. You already are. You begin to live in a quieter way, not dull, but peaceful. Not passive, but present. You make choices not from fear, but from clarity. And that clarity becomes your power. A power that doesn't need recognition. A power that doesn't come from being right, but from being real. So let's come back to where we started. The story, the name, the mask. You've spent your life trying to become someone. But what if the only thing you ever needed was to remember the one who's been watching it all along? The observer, the stillness, the space between thoughts, the version of you that doesn't need validation, doesn't panic when plans change, doesn't cling to being right, because it's not playing the same game. You've worn so many identities. Some you outgrew, some you never chose. Some were survival. Some were silent screams to be seen. But none of them are you. Not truly. You are the space they move through, the background to every foreground, the quiet behind the chaos. You are what remained when things fell apart. You are what breathed when you had no words left. You are what noticed the pain and stayed. And that is not nothing. That is not passive. That is the source of every meaningful thing you've ever felt. Every moment of presence, every act of love, every glimpse of peace. It wasn't your personality that brought that. It was presence. It was awareness. It was the you before the you. So now, you have a choice to keep rehearsing the story, defending the mask, clinging to the illusion, or to pause, breathe, and watch. Watch your thoughts arise and fade. Watch your fears try to speak louder than truth. Watch the ego twist and grasp and fall silent when ignored. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to destroy it. Just notice it and return. Return to the part of you that's always been here. The still witness. The one that sees without judgment. The one that simply is. Because when you live from there, everything changes. Not on the outside, but inside. You find peace in the pauses, clarity in the chaos, and silence that speaks louder than the loudest thoughts. So I'll ask you one more time. If you're not your name, not your story, not even your thoughts, then who's watching? Find that, and you'll never be lost again.